But I don't know, maybe I'm on my own on this, but I think having, there's a broadcast model, each system of communication has a different broadcast model of the mass media, of radio and television or media. The telegraph was also a system of communication. So you had to go and buy, you had to pay for the message you wanted to be sent. But today, you're on the internet, texting, you're tweeting, you're on Facebook, you're not paying for the message. You're the telegrapher and the telegraph company all in one. So I think having the broadcast model as a concept is useful because it suggests growing social contestation around how people use the media.
Yeah, I think I completely agree. So, but I would like to add some couple of points here to make the case of India, how it is more complex. So, if you look at India, the system is more diverse. So, if you look at India is divided into 29 states, and then you have 14 linguistic groups, a major linguistic group, and then Hindi is almost spoken by nearly 50% of India's population. And that's where I think when you look at the broadcast model or any kind of media system, the way it operates in India, there is multiple media system within India, and then again, if you look at the expansion of internet, the first 100 million users, they were mostly English-speaking elite, and then you look at the last 100 million internet users, so they are coming from from the vernacular, they are coming from the rural areas, small towns, and that's where mobilizations are taking place. That's where a lot of activism is taking place. And that's where you have to look at how sometimes, as it was also pointed by one of the students, about normalizations of the medium. So in India, the situation is complex because you not only need internet to resolve the digital divide, not only you need to resolve the digital divide, but also you have to look at how you bridge the gap between elite English-speaking Indians and non-elite Indian language speaking Indian. So that is another kind of divide. So beside rural and urban, beside poor and rich. So that is another layer that we need to address.
So we have a pause and then come back, and you made a good beginning on that. So maybe we have a
5 minutes break and
then look at this one. Elaborate binary broken down. In our opinion, what is for and against. Okay, so we'll be back in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yes.
We can reconnect.
It happens.
It was the 401 was just a hard one. I could walk down the road and I drove down and it was infuriating.
Where are you coming from?
Like Mimico.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
You should have your own plane.
Oh, yeah, that would be nice.
I worked out in the railway yards in Mimico.
Yeah.
When I was a young man. So I had to take the streetcar. I was working on the call board. And so they'd call me on the weekend when no one wants to work. So I was
Daniel, can you hear me? There is some problem with your mic. So when other students are speaking, they are audible, but when you are speaking, voice are breaking. So I think if you could look into this.
well, it fell off. Parents, thank you for. Do you hear me now, Robarts?
Yeah, I think it's much better now.
What happened was okay, is this okay? Okay. Robarts, the small lapel mic. Robarts?
Okay.
The lapel mic fell off.
Okay. So now.
Okay, so can you hear me now?
Yes.
Is it clear?
Yeah, it's much better.
Yeah. One thing I have to say is that you have a very loud echo in your room.
Okay, so now
when you speak, it's very clear. Like it's perfectly the sound is 100%. But when other people speak, there's a echo. Particularly people at the far end, the sound is often difficult to decode.
Okay, so maybe because we have ceiling fan here, so maybe because of that.
Yeah, the ceiling fans are. Sorry, this is Mike. I'm the technician here. The ceiling fans are keeping the microphone open, so it's picking up every bit of noise, including our microphone audio coming back.
Okay, so
either the fans or you have to reduce the sensitivity of the microphones. I'm not sure what your best option is.
So I don't know because if we switch off ceiling fan.
Okay, so are you getting the voice clearer now?
So maybe we can switch off some of the ceiling fan and then we keep some.
Okay. Yeah.
Wait, those standing mics. So that won't work here.
So, Robarts, so by next week you'll see that Hillary got a bounce of about 5 or 6%.
That would be really. That would be really.
You know, Indians should be very worried about Trump.
Yes. But
now, what's happening?
What is interesting about Indian community in the US is not they are divided. So some Indian community or American Indians, they are supporting Trump and others supporting Hillary Clinton. So that's also happening. So you can see there are both kind of groups there.
Now, maybe to give a report on Kashmir. There is reporting on Kashmir for Canadians, but I don't think Canadians are seeing all these demonstrators being shot by the Indian Army. So it would be good to actually take 2 or 3 minutes, because I'm sure the people here don't understand what's going on in Kashmir.
So maybe what we will do, we'll share a couple of news articles on Kashmir, some relevant one, and that will also give you an idea about what is happening in case of Kashmir and how digital media is playing a role in the entire mobilization. So it's almost very much.
I must say, I almost fell off my chair when the Indian Minister of Foreign Affairs went to New York the other day and said there will never be a referendum on Kashmir. Kashmir is part of India.
Yeah, so that is the stand of Indian government. But what is, if you look at the problem in Kashmir, it's basically autonomy movement. And they want, earlier they were given autonomy in terms of finance, in terms of having administration. But now those autonomy has been taken away. So, except for defense, as per the original agreement between Nehru government in the 50s and the Kashmiri government, Omar Abdullah, that there would be some sense of autonomy, and they also had their own flag. So all these autonomy has been taken away, particularly from the 70s onwards, and 90 was the breaking point, and that's where insurgency emerged. So I think some of these contexts would be very important for the Canadian students. So I would share some brief article that would provide background to some of these developments in case of Kashmir.
Well, I think it would be good to discuss it. Over 85 demonstrators have been shot. That was quite in the last couple of months.
And that's again also because whenever there is a movement, the first thing that happens is the crackdown on internet. And that's what is happening in case of Kashmir. So they even can't SMS, they can't even use mobile phone.
Yeah.
So these are the issues, and that is not just happening in Kashmir. So I was reading a report other day, which I shared on my Facebook page, is about this is a global phenomenon. The first thing that the authoritarian regime does is to crack down on the internet whenever there is a protest movement, whenever there is any kind of dissent. So that also shows how internet has posed a challenge to the authoritarian regime.
The internet control is anyway. That's all worth discussing. Maybe we should do this next week.
Yeah. So for next week we already have some readings, and meanwhile I will also share some additional readings. And for the next week, I think one of you should take the responsibility of creating a Facebook page. Who wants to do? Shivaji. Bhavya, can you create a Facebook page? So for next, so it should be the Facebook closed group. No, Bhavya, you take the responsibility. You do it tomorrow, and then you send a link to the Canadian students, and then they would also join. So it should be closed group. And that's where we could share some of these insights from the class, or if you want to share some of the readings or news articles. Yeah. So then so we'll have Facebook page tomorrow.
Okay.
And then also, so we can discuss some of these issues. So we'll go through the readings that have already been distributed, as well as we will go through some additional reading.
Now we had talked about moving one class, the October 12th class, to the 11th.
No, 13.
Right?
13.
What?
13. October 13.
Oh, sorry. The 13th. Yes. So I have it written. I had it written down as.
So is it possible to move that class to October 13 instead of October 12?
Oh, I see. Okay. So move the 12th to the 13th. What day is the 13th?
Thursday.
Yeah. Yeah. Will that be okay? Okay, so we're sort of edging towards the consensus. I hope that we can work it out. Well, we'll discuss it again next week.
Okay.
But I'll send a note. I'll send a note to everyone. Okay, let's look at the issue of has the left-right binary broken down? It's one of the consequences of the new system of information is that the left-right, that we don't think in these terms left and right as we once did, as the ordinals of political discourse, but we find that the left-right binary no longer operates in the same way or to the same degree. So is that true, do you think? That identity politics has challenged the primacy of being on the left, being on the right, being on the center? What do you think?
So I think when we are looking at left-right binary, so we have to also look at so what is the alternative beyond left-right binary? And when we look at the alternative of how people are moving beyond left and right binary is the rise of issue-based politics. So people converge on certain issues and they might come from different ideological background, but then they will diverge on other issues coming from both left and right. But then again, if you look at the way things are going on, particularly not only in India but even globally, there is resurgence of far right groups, whether it's Europe, and even we have seen in case of the US, how the rise of Donald Trump is a very good example. So I'm not so sure if the left-right binary is completely broken down, although there is the rise of issue-based politics. So what I would like to say here, I think both these are going together, and particularly in India, it's getting more solidified in the past, particularly in the past few years, and particularly after the coming of the right-wing political party to the power. So I think I'm not so convinced about the complete break of left and right, complete disappearance of left and right binary. So I think our students might add something here. So again, another important issue is economic policies, so new liberal economic policies. So on that, I think the left-right binary is broken. So even if you look at some of the left-wing political parties in India, they are also supporting new liberal policies. So economic liberalization is one of the things where all political parties converge. So that's where I think they are converging, but when we look at identity politics, it's completely no.
If anything, the left-right binary has been further strengthened in today's, considering this scenario, and the coming and digitalization has in a way led to that or contributed to that. So I think now it's more evident as to what causes you support and what political agendas you support or you converge with either online, mostly online first, and it's not just, I think now it's even more clear what someone's political ideology is, or which political party you support, or what political ideology you stand with. And I think digitalization has made it all the more I would say all the more clearer on social media platforms. So I think left-right binary has become even more it's actually more categorical in the present day context. So I don't think it has converged, or there's the gap or the line dividing it has converged. It's actually led to two distinct groups and two distinct ideologies. further strengthen the division.
Also on the similar lines, what has happened in particular is the people who do support any particular ideology have come up with a, they have the digitization and the social media has somehow strengthened them. In fact, the fact that the traditional media does not have a very, it doesn't have a very democratic approach towards saying and giving voice to much people, but the social media has given them. In case just you consider this one point, that the students, most probably, they have got an opportunity and they have got a platform to particularly support any ideology that they follow. Also, it's not only about following, it's also about propagating that particular ideology. If I am considering and I am following any particular ideology, I will take up to the social media and I'll take to different channels that are available to me now in order to tell more people about it and to gain more traction and attraction about that particular ideology.
So can I ask you what you mean by left? What does the term left mean to you? What does the term right mean to you? So what defines the person on the left? What defines the person on the right? What are the values associated with each term?
On the left, traditionally being associated with communist and with communism as the paramount social.
What are the important? So what are the issues? So, for example, land reform.
Land reforms would be the paramount criteria when it comes to left, and in the Indian context, right would be more to with religion and right-wing political parties, Satanization in that context. And one of the major political parties in India, the BJP party, is the party is categorized as the right, right-wing party.
Also, the values of the left in our country are seen more as progressive on the fact that they support the people, those who are quite marginalized in our society. On the other hand, right wing is considered more of a nationalist. They are more of nationalist party and they support what we can call something radical. This is one particular thing that I particularly see.
Shreya, you would like?
Yeah, I think I would want to differ a bit from the left and right binary. I feel it has gotten a little more blurred if we look at the way that internet has been functioning, especially in India. And I'm saying this from the point of view of the various kinds of, self-censorship would be one thing in the light of the new surveillance systems and whatnot. I think people have become more aware when it comes to expressing their ideology or their ideas. It's one thing that, what you were talking about, that expressing, taking the left side or the right side on a particular issue. But I think now the situation is such that people resort to more of self-censorship in terms of what they want to express, because they know that they are being tracked, they are being monitored, and hence I don't really think that we can say that, we cannot really categorically say that the binary has really broken down into left and right. I think it's become more blurred. People are more aware and they are more controlled, and they monitor their own selves at the end of the day. When it comes to expressing things online, I think internet has kind of strengthened, reinforced that.
So one of the things that is emerging from here, that on the issue of left and right binary, so it has really consolidated when it comes to the identity politics, religious divide, but when it comes to the economic policies, the boundary is getting blurred. So that's what is happening here. So both are
I would like to add something.
Any big point?
Yeah. In case of India in particular, we can't compare the political system of India with Canada or US for say, because in India we have right, left and center as well. And before the digital era began, we have three political parties following three different ideology, and from the starting you have a bit blur understanding of who is at the right, who is at the center, and who is at the left. So with coming of digital era, I think this whole understanding of right, left and center has been more blurred because people have become active on politics more on an issue based rather than ideological. Like there has been the ideological base of every political party has been strengthened up, but still many people have picked up the politics of issue based. They are more in issue based activism.
That is more about, but
Okay. So I think the York Revolutionary Commune would like to jump in.
Yeah, I actually agree a lot on that because I think that the art is becoming increasingly blurred. Also, people tend to move in general more towards the middle, but depending on the issue, people might take a rather left or right to that. I mean, for example, on social issues, most people, I think, tend to be more left, but in, for example, economics, you might be tend to move more towards the right. But when voting, I think if you have to go to elections, you usually know where you stand. So you either decide. Here you either with the Democrats or the Conservatives, so you know where you stand. But also, I think when voicing an opinion, the people who are in the middle of the political spectrum don't voice their opinions. The people who voice their opinions online, especially, are more radical, either left or right. I mean, which you could see. I mean, Trump is having like a lot of feedback from the right parties, and Bernie Sanders actually triggered more online communication than Hillary does, who's more in the middle of the political spectrum. I think like more radical opinions trigger more feedback and answers online.
I think I feel like the conversation about left or right is a conversation that's more had about electoral politics than about social movements now, because as you guys pointed out, social movements tend to be issue specific, and I think they don't feel, with the University of York as the exception in my experience, they don't feel the need to align themselves with like a hardline leftist or right-wing position. But it's odd because I feel like we use left and right now as refer to a bunch of things. But originally it was about whether you were about laissez-faire politics or if you're about like substantial social intervention, and that like mostly settled. Everyone's an economic liberal now in North America. But they then use it on social issues, and they use it in like if you're a domestic nationalist, right? So I feel like we're using it as like we still like the terms, but we've thrown a bunch of stuff that weren't there originally into them. So now if someone was like an internationalist versus like a more insular politician, I would probably call them left-leaning, even though that has nothing to do with what we used to mean by left.
So it's kind of interesting, knowing the word poverty, inequality, social justice, redistribution. This is that's one end of the left-right binary. So it's really about issues that are rooted in fundamental change in power and in improving people's conditionality. So if you look at that, the internet is a kind of one remove. The internet has given voice to these issues that I just mentioned. So the binary that has been dissolving weekly in an age of identity politics has been reconstituted through social media and social movements. It seemed to be on the internet. So social justice, inequality, poverty, gender violence, what else did I added gender violence on that, collective action, all are the part of the binary that is identified with values and issues. The two are together. because people choose issues not based on being political affiliation broadly, but it's these issues which embody or helps you locate yourself as a historical actor. Right? So, on the right, of course, it's a very different set of values and issues. On the right, it's too much government in the economy, too much taxes, more individualism, less collectivism,